Yes, I'm Louise O'Reilly and I'm an illustrator, and I work primarily with natural history subjects and trained as a botanical illustrator.
I'm Sally Jeffrey. I'm a garden and architectural historian, and I've always been fascinated by the house and the garden.
4 pages at a time.
Yeah.
I've been asked to create an artist's book that also acts as a guide to the garden. And obviously the garden at Ham is extremely significant. As I understand it, it's the most intact 17th century garden in the UK. And so we're working together on producing a small printed artwork which will include my drawings and information annotating those drawings, which Sally is researching and advising on. This could be tools and techniques, and this could be... So one of the reasons I was interested in this project was because the garden in itself is like a visual manifestation of a collection of ideas from the period.
There's a whole set of plans which give a great range of information about the garden in the 17th and the early 18th century. So that was our starting point.
Another we have is a survey of the garden, so we know that that was a survey of the garden as it was.
A wealth of plant lists which are completely fascinating.
I quite like the format of Parkinson.
And there's a lovely little piece of evidence about a local boy delivering a nest of nightingales and getting paid, so it's in the accounts of the garden. Lots of those sort of, really rich snippets which bring the garden alive.
Then the scale of it on the page, I mean, I'm just speculating.
Well, I've never worked with an artist before, so the whole experience is new, and it's very exciting because she's very welcoming of the facts, and we're sticking very closely to the facts, but at the same time I'm seeing them developed in an artistic form.
I suppose very simply, Sally would approach her research from the point of view of the documentation, which is primarily written sources, and I approach everything from
the
visual. So I'm looking for pictures.
And I've spent hours looking at the documents of Ham, which interestingly aren't kept there. They're still with the Tollemache family. So I have this knowledge of hundreds of documents, and here was Louise who wanted the information and needed it, and we could make something of it. So it's been just a very exciting collaboration. I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed it.
And so I have at my disposal Sally's expertise and her area of kind of research skill, which I haven't had before as an illustrator and an artist, and it adds a whole dimension that simply could not have been there for me if I'd been doing it on my own.
It was the Earl of Mar, Ralph Erskine, who was visiting Twickenham and making different designs for some of the gardens that he saw.
Okay,
so he's he's experimenting with things.
If you get taken around somewhere by somebody who is an enthusiast for and knows a lot about and loves the place they're showing you, there couldn't be a better way of being introduced to somewhere. And in a way, that's what hopefully what our little publication will do. It will combine our shared enthusiasm for what we've been discovering and what we want to include.
What we're doing is a set of separate plans so that you see it stage by stage, and I think that's going to be extremely useful for people trying to understand the garden, and it's a new interpretation as far as I'm concerned, setting it out on the page in that way.
So what do we think if we were talking to somebody and taking them round? What would we tell them?
My name is Jeff Freitag. I live locally in Richmond. I'm an artist myself, and I'm interested in shape, and I'd never really had the opportunity to explore the garden. You've got to give yourself the time to actually look.
Our kind of collaboration with Spear, which is a local homeless hostel, it was right at the beginning of the project.
It gave us the opportunity to see and to explore and understand more about the shapes and the colour in the garden.
We were the hostesses to a very diverse group of people, most of whom hadn't been to Ham before.
For myself, I'd never actually been to the top of the house and seen the garden in that perspective, and for me it was very interesting.
But that my kind of component was to invite them to walk around the garden and see it as I see it as an artist, because there's the generic garden, which is there for us all to kind of go and enjoy and find out about, but there's also the garden that we visit as individuals, which is very different.
To let you get a feel of the garden through the eye of other people.
And then after that, I did a drawing workshop with them, which used the material that they had collected, and we did some large observational drawings from nature.
And then we had a local historian who explained to us about the garden itself, and tulips was one of the things that was stolen in the days when the house was first originally built. That appealed to me because I like history, but it was the commodity that would be the equivalent of someone stealing your Mercedes or your BMW of modern day society. So learning the value of the plants in those days was very good.